The council chamber floated in the void between stars. Its walls were made of light itself, bending and twisting in ways that would drive lesser minds to madness. Inside, the Valthine gathered, their forms ancient and terrible. They had ruled the galaxy for 3 million years, and they would rule for 3 million more. Valora sat at the center of the chamber. Her body shifted between states of matter, never quite solid, never quite gas. She was old beyond measure, and she had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. Most fell because she willed it. A younger Valthine approached, its form still mostly physical. It carried data crystals that pulsed with information. Valora barely glanced at it. "Matriarch, there are reports from the outer sectors," the messenger said. "A species called humans has begun expanding beyond their home system. They have colonized 3 nearby worlds." Valora's form rippled with something that might have been laughter. "Another vermin species crawls from its nest. How tiresome. Have the Chromari been notified?" "Yes, Matriarch. They have established new boundaries around the human territories. The insects will learn their place soon enough." Valora dismissed the messenger with a wave. She had heard this story 1,000 times before. A young species develops faster than light travel. They grow confident. They push into spaces they do not understand. Then they meet the elders, and they learn that the galaxy belongs to those who have earned it through age and power. The humans would be no different. Far from the Valthine Council, in a region of space where dying stars clustered together like ancient warriors awaiting death, the Chromari maintained their vigil. They called this place the Blaze, and it served a purpose that younger species could not comprehend. Commander Thex stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the stellar fires dance across his viewscreen. The Chromari were warriors, bred for battle across millions of years. Their bodies were armored with scales harder than starship hulls. Their weapons could tear holes in reality itself. Thex had guarded the Blaze for 6,000 years. In that time, he had turned away hundreds of species. Most listened. Some did not. Those that refused to listen were never seen again. His second officer approached, moving with the careful grace all Chromari possessed. "Commander, 3 ships from the human species have entered the outer boundary. They claim to be colony vessels. They ignore our warnings." Thex felt his battle instincts stir. How typical. Send the standard message. If they do not turn back within 1 cycle, destroy them. The colony ships did not turn back. Their wreckage now drifted somewhere in the Blaze. Another warning to species that thought themselves ready for the wider galaxy. Captain Doyen sat in his ready room aboard the Terran Explorer Corps ship Horizon's Edge, reading reports that made his jaw tight. 3 colony ships had vanished near a region called the Blaze. Over 2,000 people gone without a trace. The official orders from Earth Command were clear: do not investigate. The region was too dangerous. The aliens who controlled it were too powerful. Humanity needed to respect boundaries. Doyen had read those orders 3 times. Each time they made him angrier. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Hana entered first, carrying a datapad filled with technical specifications. She was his chief engineer, and one of the smartest people he had ever met. Behind her came Junho, his tactical officer. Junho's face was set in stone, the way it always was when he was working through a problem. "We have analyzed the last transmissions from the colony ships," Hana said, projecting a hologram above the desk. "They encountered something massive. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database." Junho leaned forward. The transmissions cut off instantly. No distress calls. No weapons fire. Just silence. Doyen studied the data. "What about the region itself? What makes the Blaze so dangerous?" Hana pulled up another display. "Extreme radiation from the dying stars. Gravitational anomalies that can tear a ship apart. Spatial distortions we don't fully understand. Going in there would be suicide with our current technology." "And yet the colony ships tried," Doyen said quietly. "They were following outdated charts," Junho explained. "They didn't know about the alien boundaries until it was too late." Doyen stood and walked to the window. Outside, stars stretched endlessly. Somewhere out there, 2,000 people had died, and Earth Command wanted him to pretend it never happened. "Sir," Hana said carefully, "if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, I need to tell you it's a terrible idea." "Noted," Doyen replied. "Start preparing the ship for high radiation environments. Kunho, I want every combat scenario you can imagine. We leave in 6 hours." Both officers stared at him. Hunyo spoke first. "Earth Command will revoke your commission." Then they'll have to catch us first. The horizon's edge pushed through space at maximum speed, heading toward the blaze. The crew knew they were violating direct orders, but not one of them had protested. They had all lost someone they knew on those colony ships. Minho sat at the communication station, his fingers flying across controls as he monitored dozens of channels simultaneously. He was young for a senior officer, but he had a gift for languages that made him invaluable. "Captain, I'm picking up a transmission," he said. "It's not directed at us, but I can decrypt it." "Do it," Doyen ordered. Minutes later, Minho's face went pale. "Sir, you need to hear this." The bridge fell silent as the translated message played. It was from a Chromary ship to another Elder vessel. The content was simple and horrifying. The blaze was not just a dangerous region. It was a killing ground, deliberately maintained to eliminate younger species. Any civilization that tried to expand past certain boundaries would be lured here and destroyed. Thousands of species had died in the blaze over millions of years. It was genocide, industrialized and systematic. Somen, the medical officer, stood near the back of the bridge. Her hands were shaking. They murdered those people. They murdered them just for traveling through space. Doyen felt ice settle in his chest. The Elders were not distant gods maintaining cosmic order. They were predators, and they had been hunting younger species for longer than humanity had existed. "Helm, increase speed," he ordered. "We're going into the blaze." The tactical display lit up with warnings. A massive ship had appeared on their sensors, moving to intercept. Its energy signature was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Commander Thex appeared on the view screen, his scaled face filling the display. His voice came through the speakers, translated by their computers. "Human vessel, you are trespassing in restricted space. Turn back now or you will be destroyed. This is your only warning." Doyen stood facing the Chromari commander. "This is Captain Doyen of the Terran ship Horizon's Edge. We are searching for our missing people. We will not turn back." Thex's eyes narrowed. "Then you have chosen death like all the others. The Elders have maintained order in this galaxy for millions of years. You are nothing. You are insects. And the blaze will consume you as it has consumed all who came before." The transmission cut off. Weapons locks appeared across the tactical display. "All hands battle stations," Doyen ordered calmly. "Hana, I hope that quantum drive modification you've been working on actually works." "We're about to find out," she replied from engineering. The Horizon's Edge plunged forward toward the blaze, toward the dying stars, toward the ancient evil that had ruled the galaxy for so long. Behind them, Thex's warship opened fire. The war between humanity and the Mythic Elders had begun. The Horizon's Edge shook violently as energy bolts tore through space behind it. Doyen gripped his command chair, watching the tactical display light up with incoming fire. Thex's warship was faster than anything humanity had ever built, but Hana's modifications to their quantum drive were about to be tested. "Evasive pattern Delta," Junho called out, his fingers dancing across the weapons console. "Returning fire." Their missiles launched, streaking toward the massive Chromari vessel. They exploded harmlessly against shields that had protected Elder ships for thousands of years. The return fire was not harmless. One blast clipped their port side and alarms screamed across the bridge. "Hull breach on Deck 7, a junior officer reported. "Sealing now." Doyun made a decision. "Hana, engage the quantum modifications. Get us into the blaze." "Sir, the calculations aren't complete." Hana's voice came back through the comm. "If I'm wrong, we could be torn apart. If you don't, we'll definitely be torn apart. Do it." The ship lurched forward with impossible speed. Space itself seemed to bend around them as Hana's experimental drive pushed them beyond normal physics. The Chromari warship fired again, but the shots passed through empty space. The Horizon's Edge had vanished into the blaze. They emerged into hell. The view screen showed dying stars clustered so close together that their gravity wells created waves through space itself. Radiation levels spiked to lethal levels. Spatial distortions made navigation nearly impossible. And everywhere, there was debris. "Oh my God," Minho whispered, staring at his sensors. "There are thousands of wrecks out here." He was right. As the Horizon's Edge moved deeper into the blaze, they passed the remains of ships from species humanity had never encountered. Some were so old they had fused with the radiation-scarred rocks floating through the region. Others were recent enough that their hulls still glowed with residual heat. Doyen felt sick. Minho, scan for any signs of our colony ships. Already on it, Captain. Minho's fingers flew across his console. I'm detecting human technology signatures. Bearing 27 Mark 5. Distance, 40,000 kilometers. The horizon's edge turned carefully, navigating between gravitational anomalies that could crush them like paper. They found the first colony ship 15 minutes later. The wreckage was fresh. The hull had been deliberately cut apart by energy weapons, not torn by natural forces. Bodies floated in the debris field, frozen in the vacuum of space. Soman arrived on the bridge, having rushed from the medical bay. She looked at the view screen, and her hand went to her mouth. Those are civilians, families, children. Document everything, Doyen ordered, his voice tight with rage. The elders did this. The galaxy needs to see what they are. Junho was analyzing the weapon signatures. Captain, these cutting patterns are precise. Military grade. This wasn't just destruction. It was execution. They found the other 2 colony ships in the next hour. The story was the same. Deliberate, methodical murder. Over 2,000 people, killed for the crime of traveling through space. Minho had been working on decrypting more elder transmissions. Suddenly he sat up straight. Captain, I've broken into their communication network. You need to see this. The bridge crew gathered around as Minho played the intercepted messages. They were communications between elder species discussing the blaze and its purpose. The translations were clear and horrifying. The blaze was not a natural hazard. It had been engineered millions of years ago as a trap. When young species developed, faster than light travel, the elders would monitor them. If those species showed too much promise, too much potential, they would be quietly redirected toward the blaze. The dying stars and gravitational anomalies made perfect cover for mass murder. One message particularly stood out. It was from a Valthine commander to a Kramari fleet. Another species eliminated in Sector 7. Total count, 3,247 civilizations purged. The blaze remains our most efficient tool. 3,000 civilizations, billions upon billions of lives, erased so completely that the galaxy never knew they existed. They're not maintaining order, Hana said quietly from engineering. They're preventing competition. They're keeping the galaxy static so they never face a challenge to their power. Doyen stood, pacing the bridge. Every instinct told him to run, to get his crew out of this death trap. But running meant letting the elders continue their genocide. Running meant those 2,000 people died for nothing. Minho, can you transmit what we've found back to Earth? The radiation interference is too strong for normal communication, sir, but I might be able to use a tight beam laser transmission. It would take several hours to reach the nearest relay station. Do it. Junho, what are our chances if more elder ships show up? Junho didn't sugarcoat it. 0, sir. We survived one encounter because we surprised them. They won't make that mistake twice. Then we need an advantage. Doyen turned to the view screen, studying the hellish landscape of the blaze. Hana, you managed to push us through space faster than their ships. What did you do? Hana's voice came back excited despite the situation. The quantum drive doesn't just push against space. It briefly exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Elders' sensors couldn't track us because we weren't entirely in normal space. Can we weaponize that? Silence for a moment. Then, maybe. If we can destabilize their targeting systems the same way, but I'd need to study their technology. As if in answer, sensors detected something ahead. A massive structure, ancient and dark, floating in a pocket of relatively stable space. The energy signature matched Elder technology. It's a station, Junho reported. Appears abandoned. No life signs. Doyen knew it was a risk, but they needed information. Take us in. Assault team, prepare for boarding action. The station was a tomb. The horizon's edge docked carefully, and a team led by Doyen himself entered through an airlock. The interior was dark, lit only by their helmet lamps. The architecture was wrong, built for beings with different perceptions of space and dimension. They found the control center after 30 minutes of searching. Ancient computers still hummed, with power. maintained by systems that had operated for millennia. Minho connected their portable equipment and began downloading data. What they found was worse than they imagined. The station had been a monitoring post, tracking young civilizations across an entire galactic arm. Its logs went back 5 million years. Species after species had been identified, studied, and then quietly eliminated in the blaze. The elders had detailed records of every genocide, complete with analysis of which species showed the most promise, and therefore represented the greatest threat. "They're afraid," Hana said, reading the data over their shared network. "All this killing, it's not about maintaining order. They're terrified that some younger species will eventually surpass them." Soman had accompanied the boarding party as medical officer. She was examining strange equipment in what appeared to be a laboratory. "Captain, you need to see this." The lab contained biological samples from hundreds of species. Most were dead, preserved for study, but some containers held living tissue, kept in stasis for millions of years. "They were experimenting on them," Soman said, her voice shaking. "Trying to find weaknesses, ways to make genocide more efficient." Doyen felt rage building in his chest, hot and fierce. The elders called themselves gods, maintainers of cosmic order. They were nothing but cowards and murderers. An alarm suddenly blared. Junho's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, multiple ships entering the area. Chromari and Ashkaron signatures. Big ones. How long do we have?" 10 minutes. Maybe less." Doyen made a decision. "Minho, can you download everything and set the station to self-destruct?" "Already on it, sir." They raced back to the ship, carrying data crystals filled with evidence of elder crimes. The Horizon's Edge undocked just as the first elder ships appeared on sensors. Commander Thex's face appeared on their view screen again, but this time he was not alone. Beside him was an Ashkaron warlord, its massive form covered in biological armor. Behind them, a Valthene observer shimmered in and out of reality. "You have seen too much," Thex said. "You will not leave the blaze alive." Doyen smiled grimly. "That's what you told the last 3,000 civilizations. But here's something you didn't know about humans. We're stubborn, we don't give up, and we definitely don't forget." He cut the transmission. "Hana, get us out of here. Use every trick you have." "With pleasure, Captain." The Horizon's Edge dove deeper into the blaze, toward the dying stars and gravitational chaos. Behind them, elder ships gave chase. But something unexpected happened. The modifications Hana had made allowed them to navigate hazards that destroyed their pursuers. They watched in amazement as an Ashkaron dreadnought tried to follow and was torn apart by gravitational shear. Humans were more adaptable than the elders had calculated. More stubborn, more willing to take risks. The Horizon's Edge emerged from the blaze battered but intact. Behind them, the Elder Station exploded, destroying millions of years of genocide records. But they had copied it all. "Minho, did the transmission get through?" "Yes, sir. Earth Command has received everything. So has every news network on every human world." Doyen leaned back in his chair. The elders wanted to keep their genocide quiet. That was no longer possible. Humanity knew the truth now. And more importantly, humanity was angry. The news reached Earth like a shockwave. Every screen on every human world showed the same images. The murdered colony ships. The Elder Station logs. 3,000 civilizations erased from existence. The faces of the dead floating in space. Humanity had been trying to find its place in a galaxy that seemed empty. Now they knew why. The elders had been cleaning house for millions of years, making sure no one could challenge them. Fleet Admiral Heejan sat in the Strategic Command Center deep below Earth's surface, watching the data stream in. She was 60 years old, with gray hair and eyes that had seen 2 wars. But nothing had prepared her for this. "How long until we can mobilize the fleet?" she asked her chief of staff. 3 weeks for full mobilization. But Admiral, even our entire fleet wouldn't stand a chance against Elder technology. We've seen what one of their ships can do. Heejan studied the tactical displays. The Horizon's Edge survived. Captain Doyen found a way to fight them. If one ship can do it, a fleet can do better. She stood addressing the room full of officers. The elders have been murdering species for millions of years. They think we're just another group of insects to be crushed. Let's show them what human insects can do when we're angry. The mobilization began immediately. Every ship humanity could spare was pulled from other duties. Mining vessels were retrofitted with weapons. Colony transports were converted into troop carriers. Scientists worked around the clock to replicate Hana's quantum drive modifications. But it was not just Earth that reacted. On Mars, on Europa, on the colony worlds scattered across human space, the response was the same: rage, and a determination to make the elders pay. Far from Earth in the council chamber of light, the Valthene gathered again. This time the atmosphere was different. For the first time in 3 million years, the mythic elders felt something they had not experienced in living memory: concern. Valora's form rippled with anger as she addressed the assembled elders. The humans have exposed the blaze. Our most efficient tool is now compromised. Worse, they survived encounters with both Chromari and Ashkaron forces. An older Valthene spoke, its voice like grinding glaciers. They are one species. One young primitive species. We have eliminated thousands like them. And yet they survived, Valora said coldly. They adapted to conditions that should have killed them. They defeated ships that have been invincible for millennia. We cannot ignore this. Ashkaron warlord Krenth materialized in the chamber, his massive form barely contained by the dimensional space. He was ancient even by elder standards, having led armies when Earth was still covered in ice. His voice was deep and full of contempt. The Valthene grow soft. I will take my fleets to the human worlds and turn them to ash. This problem will be solved in days. Wait, commanded a Chromari delegate. Commander Thex reports unusual readings from human biology. They adapt faster than any species we have recorded. Perhaps we should study them before extermination. Krenth laughed, a sound like mountains crashing. Study them? I will crush them. The Ashkaron have ended 10,000 species. The humans will be 10,001. Valora considered the options. The sensible choice was systematic extermination, as they had done countless times before. But something about the human defiance bothered her. They should have been terrified. They should have retreated. Instead, they were mobilizing for war. Very well, she said finally. Warlord Krenth, you will lead the assault on the human territories. But do not underestimate them. They have already proven more capable than we anticipated. Krenth bowed, his form radiating confidence. Within one cycle, the humans will be extinct. The galaxy will remember them as another failed experiment. The elders dispersed, returning to their territories to prepare for war. None of them noticed the small detail that would doom them. In their millions of years of existence, they had never faced a species quite like humanity. Aboard the Horizon's Edge, now docked at a human military station, Jiwan worked in the science lab. She was the ship's science officer, young and brilliant with a mind that connected patterns others missed. Right now, she was studying the medical data Soman had collected during their time in the blaze. This is impossible, she muttered, running the analysis for the 4th time. Soman entered the lab carrying more samples. What did you find? The radiation levels in the blaze should have killed us. The gravitational stress should have torn our cells apart. But look at this. G1 projected a hologram showing cellular structure. Our bodies adapted. Mid-exposure, our DNA started rewriting itself to compensate. That's not possible, Soman said. Evolution takes millions of years. Not for humans, apparently. We evolved in one of the most hostile environments in Earth's history. We survived ice ages, predators, diseases, environmental catastrophes. Our bodies learned to adapt quickly or die. That trait is still in us. Soman stared at the data. So when the elders exposed us to lethal radiation, thinking it would kill us like it killed other species, we adapted. We're still adapting. Every human who survives exposure to elder weapons becomes more resistant. We're evolving in real time. Jiwan sent her findings to Fleet Command. Within hours, Admiral Hyjin had incorporated the information into her battle plans. The elders had unknowingly given humanity its greatest weapon. 3 weeks later, the Terran Vanguard Armada gathered at the edge of human space, 200 ships carrying the hopes of an entire species. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Against the elders' millions of years of dominance, it was nothing. Admiral Hyjin stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, watching the fleet form up. Beside her, Captain Doyen had been promoted to strategic advisor. His experience in the blaze made him invaluable. The elders will expect us to defend our worlds, Doyen said, studying the tactical map. That's what every species before us did. We should do the opposite. Attack the blaze directly, Yejin finished. Use their killing ground against them. Exactly. They're not used to prey that fights back. Taeyong sat at the helm of the Indomitable, his hands ready on the controls. He was the best pilot in the fleet, able to navigate gravitational anomalies that would destroy other ships. He had volunteered for this mission knowing he might not return. They all had. All ships report ready, Admiral, the communications officer announced. Heejin took a deep breath. Helm, set course for the blaze, maximum speed. All ships follow formation. The Vanguard Armada jumped to faster than light speed, heading toward the region where so many species had died. But unlike those other species, humanity was not running blindly into a trap. They knew what waited for them, and they were coming prepared. The Elder fleets detected the human approach long before they arrived. Warlord Krenth stood on his flagship, a vessel the size of a small moon, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. The humans were coming to him. How convenient. They bring 200 ships, his tactical officer reported. Against our 1,000. They are fools. Krenth studied the human formation. Something felt wrong. The ships were not arranged defensively. They were in attack formation, diving straight toward the blaze's most dangerous regions. They are not trying to fight us, Krenth realized. They are trying to reach the blaze itself. Should we pursue? Krenth considered. If the humans wanted to die in the blaze, so be it. His ships would follow and ensure none survived. All fleets advance. We will end this quickly. The two forces met at the edge of the blaze, and the first shots were fired. Human missiles streaked toward Elder ships, most exploding harmlessly against ancient shields. But some got through. Jiwan's analysis had found weaknesses in Elder technology. Gaps in their defenses that had gone unpatched for thousands of years because no one had survived long enough to exploit them. The Indomitable shook as Elder energy weapons struck its hull. Alarms blared, but the ship held. Human engineers had studied the weapons used against the horizon's edge and designed new armor specifically to counter them. Return fire, Yejin ordered calmly. All ships execute pattern alpha. Take us into the blaze. Taeyong's hands flew across the helm controls. The Indomitable dove toward the dying stars, straight into the gravitational chaos. Behind them, the Vanguard Armada followed. The Elder fleet pursued, confident in their superiority. Then the dying stars' gravity wells caught them. Ships that had sailed through space for millions of years suddenly found themselves pulled into gravitational shears. Shields designed to stop weapons could not stop the fundamental forces of the universe. Elder vessels began to tear apart. The human ships, smaller and more maneuverable, with Hana's modifications allowing them to exist partially outside normal space, slipped through the same hazards like fish in a stream. Krenth watched in disbelief as his 1,000-ship fleet began to disintegrate. The humans were not just surviving the blaze, they were using it as a weapon. Tactical analysis, he roared. The humans have adapted their technology to navigate extreme gravitational conditions. Their biology allows them to withstand radiation that kills our crews. They are using the blaze's natural hazards against us. For the first time in his 10,000-year life, Warlord Krenth felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Admiral Hygiene watched the tactical display as Elder ships fell into stellar fires. All ships maintained formation. The victory at the blaze changed everything. Within days, encrypted messages began reaching human space from species no one knew existed, civilizations that had hidden in the dark corners of the galaxy for millions of years, too afraid to reveal themselves to the Elders. Admiral Hyejin read the messages with growing understanding. They've been watching us, all these species, hiding and surviving in silence while the Elders hunted everyone else. Captain Doyen studied the star maps these hidden civilizations provided. They're giving us intelligence on Elder positions, supply lines, strategic weaknesses. They want us to win. They want us to bleed the Elders for them, Hyejin corrected, but I'll take any advantage we can get. The Vanguard Armada had established a forward base in the blaze, using the same gravitational anomalies that killed Elder ships as natural defenses. The dying stars that once represented a tomb for young civilizations now protected humanity's growing fleet. Engineer Hana worked around the clock, studying captured Elder technology. Every wrecked Elder ship was a treasure trove of information. Technology that had remained unchanged for millions of years suddenly faced human ingenuity and adaptability. Their ships are incredibly powerful, she explained to a gathering of officers, but they're also rigid. They haven't innovated in thousands of years. They rely on the same tactics, the same weapons, the same defenses that worked for them before. And we're not like the species they've faced before, Doyun said. Exactly. We adapt, we change. Every battle teaches us something new. They're still fighting like it's 1,000,000 years ago. Tactical Officer Junho had been analyzing elder battle patterns. They have 3 main formations repeated across every engagement in their historical database. They never deviate. It's like they're following a script written before humans even evolved. Then we write our own script, Hijin decided. Commander Sujin, I'm giving you command of the fast attack group. I want you to test something for me. Commander Sujin was younger than most officers at her rank, but she had proven herself in the first battle of the Blaze. Her tactical mind worked in ways that confused even other humans, which made her perfect for fighting enemies who had never encountered unpredictable opponents. What do you need, Admiral? Take 10 ships into Elder territory. Make them chase you. Then show them what happens when they follow humans into places they shouldn't go. Sujin smiled. With pleasure. Her squadron departed 2 days later, slipping past Elder patrols using the quantum drive modifications that made human ships shimmer between dimensions. They struck an Ashkaran supply depot, destroyed it, and fled deeper into Elder space. Warlord Krenth himself led the response fleet, 5 massive warships, each capable of destroying a planet. They pursued Sujin's small force with the confidence of predators chasing wounded prey. Sujin led them on a chase through an asteroid field, then past a neutron star, then toward what looked like empty space. The Ashkaran ships followed eagerly, anticipating an easy victory. They did not notice the stellar remnant Sujin had found during her scouting runs, a collapsed star, barely holding itself together against its own gravity. All it needed was a push. All ships fire on my mark, Sujin commanded. 3, 2, 1 mark. 10 human ships fired simultaneously, not at the Elder fleet but at the stellar remnant. High-energy missiles struck the star's surface, destabilizing the delicate balance that kept it from collapsing further. The star exploded inward, then outward, becoming a temporary black hole that pulled everything nearby into oblivion. Sujin's ships, small and fast, escaped the gravity well. The Ashkaran dreadnoughts, massive and slow, did not. Warlord Krenth watched his flagship's sensors scream warnings as gravity crushed his shields like paper. His last thought before the ship disintegrated was simple and shocking. The humans had used a star as a weapon. News of Krenth's death spread through Elder territories like wildfire. The Ashkaran warlord had been ancient, powerful, and supposedly invincible. Humans had killed him by throwing a star at his fleet. The psychological impact was immense. Elder species began questioning their own invincibility. If Krenth could fall, anyone could fall. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Jiho led a marine assault on an Elder command station orbiting a gas giant. Marines in powered armor launched from assault shuttles, cutting through station defenses that had never been designed to stop boarding actions. The Elders had not been boarded by enemy forces in over 1,000,000 years. Jiho was first through the breach, his rifle cutting down Chromery guards who had thought themselves safe behind their shields. Human weapons were crude by Elder standards, but they worked. And more importantly, humans were willing to get close and fight in ways the Elders had forgotten. Secure the command center, Jiho ordered, his marines spreading through the station. We need their tactical database intact. The Chromari commander tried to activate a self-destruct sequence. Jiho shot the control panel before he could complete it. The commander turned, raising a weapon that could disintegrate matter at the molecular level. Jiho was faster. His rifle fired and the commander fell. The Marines secured the station within 20 minutes. The tactical database they captured contained information on Elder fleet movements, supply chains, communication protocols, and strategic planning. It was intelligence the Elders never expected an enemy to possess. Engineer Hana studied the captured data with growing excitement. Admiral, they're broadcasting unencrypted tactical information across their entire network. They've been doing it for millions of years because they never faced an enemy who could intercept and decode it. Change the encryption protocols? Hijin asked. That would require updating every ship and station in their empire simultaneously. With their bureaucracy, it would take decades. They're technologically advanced but institutionally inflexible. Then we use it against them, Hijin decided. If we know where their fleets are moving before they get there, we can be waiting for them. The war entered a new phase. Human forces began ambushing Elder fleets, striking supply lines and capturing strategic positions. Each victory taught humanity more about their enemy. Each defeat taught the Elders that their prey had become predators. The Valthene matriarch Valora called an emergency council. For the first time in recorded history, all three Elder species gathered to discuss a common threat. The humans are winning, Valora stated flatly. They have killed Warlord Krenth. They control the blaze. They are capturing our territory and defeating our fleets. A Crumry general spoke. They are adapting faster than we can respond. Every tactic we use, they counter. Every weapon we deploy, they find a weakness. An Ashkaron commander added, Our soldiers are afraid. They call the humans the ones who do not die. When we destroy their ships, more appear. When we kill their soldiers, more take their place. Valora's form rippled with frustration. We have ruled this galaxy for 3 million years. We have eliminated thousands of species. How is one young civilization defeating us? None of them had an answer. The truth was too terrible to accept. They had grown stagnant. Comfortable in their dominance, they had stopped adapting, stopped innovating, stopped preparing for real threats. They had built an empire on the bones of younger species, never imagining one might survive and fight back. We must commit everything, Valora decided. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. The humans cannot be allowed to survive. The Elders began gathering the largest war fleet in galactic history. Thousands of ships, weapons that could destroy stars. Soldiers bred for war across millions of years. It would be the final battle. Either humanity would be crushed, or the age of the Mythic Elders would end. Admiral Hyejin received intelligence reports of the gathering Elder fleet. The numbers were terrifying. Against such a force, even humanity's victories seemed small. She called a meeting of her senior officers. Doyun, Junho, Hana, Sujin, Jiho, and others gathered around the holographic display showing the approaching enemy. They're committing everything, Hyejin said quietly. This will be the decisive battle. If we lose, humanity is finished. If we win, we break the Elders' power forever. Where will we fight them? Doyun asked. Hyejin smiled grimly. Where else? The blaze, it's become our home ground. Let them come to us. Preparations began immediately. The entire human fleet, now swelled to nearly 1,000 ships with vessels from the hidden civilizations joining them, positioned itself throughout the blaze. They turned the dying stars and gravitational anomalies into a fortress. Hana installed weapons in the asteroids. Junho programmed automated defenses in the stellar debris fields. Sujin positioned ambush forces in the dimensional pockets that human ships could reach, but Elder vessels could not. They were as ready as they could be. The Elder fleet arrived like a wave of darkness. Thousands of ships blotting out the stars. Valora herself commanded from the lead vessel, determined to oversee humanity's extinction personally. Begin the assault, she commanded. Leave nothing alive. The largest battle in galactic history began. Energy weapons lit up the blaze like a second sun. Ships exploded by the dozens on both sides. The dying stars themselves seemed to rage at the violence happening in their final resting place. But something unexpected happened. The humans were not breaking. They were not fleeing. They were fighting with a ferocity and cleverness the Elders had never encountered. The battle for the blaze raged for 3 days without pause. Space itself seemed to burn with the fury of weapons that could tear reality apart. Thousands of ships from both sides clashed among the dying stars, and the debris of fallen vessels added to the graveyard that had existed here for millions of years. Admiral Hyejin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display with calm focus. Around her, officers worked frantically to coordinate a battle spread across millions of cubic kilometers. Every second brought new reports of victories and losses. The Elder fleet is pushing toward the central anomaly, Junho reported from Tactical. They're trying to deny us the gravitational advantages. Hyejin studied the formation. The Elders were learning, adapting their tactics. But humans were still faster at adaptation. Commander Sujin, take your squadron and flank them from the dimensional pocket near Sector 7. Hit them where they cannot expect attack. Sujin's voice came back immediately. Already moving, Admiral. Her ships shimmered between dimensions using the quantum drive modifications that made them exist in multiple spaces simultaneously. They appeared behind the Elder formation and unleashed devastating fire before vanishing again. The Elders tried to respond, but their sensors could not track ships that were not entirely in normal space. In another part of the battlefield, Lieutenant Jiho led boarding parties against Elder capital ships. His Marines had learned that while Elder technology was superior, their crews were not prepared for close combat. Species that had fought from a distance for millions of years had forgotten how to defend their own decks. "Blow the airlock," Jiho commanded. His Marines charged through, rifles blazing. The Chromari defenders fought hard, but they were facing humans who had evolved as persistence hunters, who had learned to keep fighting even when wounded, who refused to surrender even in the face of certain death. The capital ship's command center fell within an hour. Jiho personally ripped out the navigation core before setting demolition charges. "All teams evacuate. We've got 3 minutes." They barely made it back to their assault shuttles before the ship tore itself apart from internal explosions. But the loss of another capital ship sent shockwaves through the Elder fleet. Humans were not just fighting them ship to ship. They were gutting their vessels from the inside. Engineer Hana worked in the depths of the Indomitable, coordinating with engineering teams across the entire human fleet. She had discovered something crucial in the captured Elder databases. The blaze was not just a natural phenomenon augmented by Elder technology. It was powered by a central facility, hidden in the gravitational anomaly at the heart of the region. "Admiral," she called up to the bridge, "I found it. The control station that maintains the blaze. If we can destroy it, the entire region will destabilize." "That would destroy Elder ships in hours," Yejin said. "Not if we time it right. Our quantum drives let us jump to safety faster than Elder ships can respond. We could trap their entire fleet here." Yejin considered the option. It was dangerous. If they failed, the human fleet would be destroyed alongside the Elders. But if they succeeded, they would win the war in one decisive stroke. "Send me the coordinates," she decided. "Captain Doyen, I need a volunteer to lead a strike team to that station." Doyen stepped forward without hesitation. "I'll go. I know you will. Take the Horizon's Edge. It's fast enough to get through the anomaly." 20 minutes later, Doyen stood on the bridge of his old ship, now refitted and repaired from its earlier battles. With him were Minho on communications, Taeyong at the helm, and a hand-picked crew of specialists. They would need all their skills for this mission. "Course laid in," Taeyong reported. "The gravitational forces at the center are intense. This is going to be rough." "When is it ever easy?" Doyen replied. "Take us in." The Horizon's Edge dove toward the heart of the blaze. Space warped around them as gravitational forces pulled at the ship from all directions. Warning alarms screamed. The hull groaned under stress. But Hana's modifications held, and they pushed deeper. They found the station exactly where Hana had predicted. It was massive, ancient beyond measure, built by the Elders millions of years ago. Artificial gravity generators kept it stable in the heart of the anomaly. And from here, massive energy beams reached out to the dying stars, manipulating their death throes to create the killing field that had ended so many civilizations. "Look at the size of it," Minho whispered. "How many species died because of this thing?" "All of them," Doyen said quietly. "Every civilization that tried to expand into this region for the last 5 million years. This is where the Elders murdered the future of the galaxy." He opened a channel to the Indomitable. "Admiral, we found it. Beginning assault now." "Understood," Hyejin replied. "We'll keep the Elder fleet distracted. You have 1 hour. After that, we jump to safety whether you're done or not." "Roger that." Horizon's Edge out. The ship approached the station carefully. Defense systems activated. Ancient weapons that had protected this place for eons, but they were designed to stop massive fleets, not one small fast ship. Taeyong flew through the defensive fire like a leaf in a storm, dodging and weaving with skill that seemed almost supernatural. They docked at an auxiliary port. Doyen led a team inside while the ship's systems began uploading viruses designed by Hana to corrupt the station's controls. The interior was like walking through a nightmare. Walls that existed in multiple dimensions. Corridors that bent in impossible directions. Technology so advanced it seemed like magic, and everywhere. The hum of power that kept the blaze operational. They found the control center deep in the station's core, and they were not alone. Valora waited for them, her form shifting between states of matter. The Valthine matriarch had anticipated this move and transported herself directly to defend the station. Behind her, Chromary guards and Ashkaron warriors stood ready. "You are persistent, humans," Valora said, her voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "But this is where your rebellion ends. The blaze is our creation, our tool. You cannot take it from us." Doyen raised his rifle, knowing it was probably useless against a being like Valora. "This place is a monument to genocide. It's murdered thousands of civilizations. We're going to make sure it never kills anyone again." "Noble," Valora mocked, "but futile. I have existed for 3 million years. What can you possibly do to me?" Doyen smiled. "We don't have to beat you. We just have to keep you busy." At that moment, Hana's viruses finished uploading. The station systems began shutting down. The energy beams controlling the dying stars flickered and failed. And without those controls, the gravitational anomaly at the heart of the blaze began to collapse. Valora's form rippled with shock. "What have you done?" "Evolution," Doyen replied. "You stayed the same for millions of years. We adapted. That's the difference between us." The station shook as the gravitational forces pulled at it. Alarms sounded in frequencies that hurt human ears. The Chromary guards rushed toward Doyen's team, but Marine Engineer Hyunwoo had already set charges throughout the facility. "Sir, we need to go now," Hyunwoo reported. "The core is going critical." "Everyone back to the ship," Doyen ordered. They ran through the collapsing station, fighting past Elder forces who were also trying to escape. Hyunwoo stayed behind at the core, setting the final charges manually when the remote detonators failed. "Hyunwoo, get out of there," Doyen shouted into his comm. "No time, Captain. Someone has to make sure this works." His voice was calm, accepting. "Tell them I did my part." "Hyunwoo, go, sir." "Win the war." The connection cut off. Doyen wanted to go back, but Taeyong was already pulling him toward the ship. They made it aboard seconds before the docking port tore away. The horizon's edge fled as the station exploded behind them. Hyunwoo's sacrifice ensured the detonation was complete. The ancient facility that had maintained the blaze for millions of years ceased to exist. And without its controls, the dying stars at the heart of the blaze began their final collapse. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Hyejin watched the gravitational readings spike. "All ships, emergency jump." Now. The human fleet activated their quantum drives simultaneously. Ships shimmered and vanished, jumping to safety in seconds. The Elders, with their more powerful but less flexible technology, tried to follow. Most did not make it. The gravitational collapse pulled thousands of Elder ships into crushing doom. Vessels that had sailed the stars for millions of years were crushed like tin cans. The Elders had built the blaze to kill younger species, and in the end it killed them. Valora managed to escape, her Valthene abilities allowing her to shift between dimensions. But she emerged alone. Her fleet was gone. The Chromary forces were destroyed. The Ashkaron armies were scattered. The battle was over. Humanity had won. The horizon's edge limped back to the human fleet, its hull scarred and battered. Doyen stood on the bridge watching the blaze settle into a stable configuration. Without the Elder technology amplifying its dangers, it was just a cluster of dying stars, beautiful in its way. "Peaceful, sir," Minho said quietly. "We're receiving transmissions from all over the galaxy. Species we've never heard of are coming out of hiding. They're thanking us. They're calling us liberators." Doyen felt tired. They had won, but the cost had been high.